Hafa Day, my name is Catherine Nadeau, and this is my lesson plan portfolio for ED582 Foundations of TESOL. So to begin, here is my table of contents. The 5 lesson plans that I chose were in grammar and teaching language, vocabulary, reading, phonics, and idioms. Here are the materials. I have them here as well as in each individual lesson plan. So to start off, like I said, the first lesson plan that I chose was the one in grammar. This one is Introduction to Simple Sentences. It is a 1 week long lesson plan, and it is for the 3rd grade. And all of the lesson plans that I have here are actually meant for a 3rd grade class of ELL students. So in this lesson, students will be introduced to simple subject-predicate sentences. They will learn what makes a sentence complete, and they will be able to differentiate complete sentences from incomplete ones. Okay, so for the anticipatory set, of course, it is a way to reach for the students' initial interest. And here, students act out 10 different simple sentences, and this keeps them engaged with the use of their bodily kinesthetic intelligence. The main present techniques are primarily just teaching students what complete sentences are through examples, as you can see here. The other present techniques will they activate students' visual spatial intelligence through matching picture cards over here. And they do this with partners to strengthen their interpersonal skills. For guided practice, and for their other present technique, it is passing around a physical object for them to make sentences with. For guided practice, they do readings, they identify the complete and incomplete sentences, and they also make sentences. For the check for understanding, I have the levels of understanding, which you can see here. So this is put in the front of the classroom, and as I go throughout the lesson, I will periodically ask, like, how well do you understand this? Show it to me on a scale of 1 to 4. And of course, I will teach them what this is beforehand. 1 meaning that they don't understand and they do need help with what they're learning. 2 being that they got it, even though they still need some more help to perfect it. 3 being that they got it, they're good to go. And 4 is that they have it mastered and they can teach it to someone else. So as I go throughout the lesson, I will be asking them to rate themselves using the levels of understanding. For these scan, circulate, and give feedback, the teacher will give encouragement and feedback to students both as they work on their assignment and when they complete it. She will walk around with a checklist of student names, asking questions about the topic. And if it is observed that the student understands the concepts, they will receive a check mark next to their names. And of course, if they don't have it down, then they will not receive the check mark, and students who fail to receive this check mark will be given extra help and, if needed, a review of the lesson. Further independent practice, I have some worksheets here. For the advanced or extension, they have journal writing, and students who finish early are expected to write complete sentences using the following topics that pertain to their own lives. So this involves students tapping into their own interpersonal intelligence and evaluating their own lives. For the formative assessment, we have making sentences. For their closure, it is a review of what they learned. They go over the I can statements, and they rate themselves using the levels of understanding that I went over earlier, the 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then we have the accommodations, modifications, materials, and resources. My next lesson plan is on vocabulary. Specifically, this is for the story A Musical Day. So students will take a close look at the vocabulary words from this story. The vocabulary words here are our, today, she, now, her, and would. So for this anticipatory set, students call on their knowledge from the grammar lesson plan. So they create simple sentences based on the pictures that I show them. So this not only activates their prior knowledge, but their visual spatial intelligence as well. For the present techniques, well, first, of course, I read the story, and then we go over the vocabulary words where students clap to the number of sounds in each word. And this use of rhythmic intelligence and kinesthetic intelligence keeps them engaged in the lesson. And then of course we go over the meanings of the word. And then we have this anagrams activity in which students unscramble the letters to make their vocabulary words. And this of course requires some level of linguistic intelligence and logical intelligence. And they do this with partners, so it helps strengthen their interpersonal skills. For the guided practice, they make simple sentences. Again, levels of understanding, the scanning, circulating, the worksheet, or I have worksheets here, and then a 5 times each for each vocabulary words. Their formative assessment is making a sentence. So again, of course, that goes back to the grammar lesson plan. So that grammar lesson plan kind of sets a foundation for the following lesson plans. For their closure, again, is a review of their I can statements. The next lesson plan is on the story, The Giving Tree. So students will read and analyze the text The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. They will discuss the characters and scenes and share their own feelings about the story. Okay, so in this anticipatory set, students will be taken out to the playground to actually see the trees, and they will pluck a leaf from the tree. And this supports students who are strong with their naturalistic intelligence, which I personally feel is the hardest skill to incorporate in the classroom. And this also works on their bodily kinesthetic intelligence, as it provides a real hands-on experience. Okay, they have a picture analysis here where they predict what happens in the story based on just the pictures. For the present techniques, it is a teacher reading. The teacher will read it, and then the students will rate the story. Then the students will ask the class to rate the story themselves before going on to the whole class reading, where they'll all read it together, answer some questions about it. We have story sequencing, and then we have an activity called What I Give, where students will be given a paper leaf, as seen here. They will draw and write something that they can give, and they will post it on this board. They will choose where to post it. Then we have the levels of understanding, the scan circulating. The independent practice, again, is making simple sentences. So like I said, it all goes back to that grammar lesson plan they were taught in the beginning of the year. For their advanced extension, it's retelling the story to someone they know. For their formative assessment, it is simple sentences again with their vocabulary words. The closure is again their I can statements. The last, oh no, not the last lesson plan. The next one I have is the phonics lesson plan, which is the double and triple letter sounds. So by this lesson, it is expected that students are familiar with simple single letter sounds, and students will now be introduced to more difficult sounds in the English language, particularly ones that are spelled with 2 or 3 letters. So for the anticipatory set, they have tongue twisters, then we have our objectives, and then they are introduced to the different sounds as well as how they are in the words. Then we have sound hopping, and the way I did it is more like 4 corners, but because it requires 8 different sounds, it is not really corners of the room. Here, students stand from their seats, the teacher will say a sound, and they'll find the area in the room that has that sound. For the word family garden, students are given a paper flower with a sound in the middle. They will have to create, or they will have to find words that have that sound in them and write it on the petals. Then we have sound families, which helps them work on their interpersonal skills as they do work with a partner. We have the check for understanding, the scanning circulate, which is the same throughout all 5 lessons. Have 2 worksheets here. Then we have word families reviews. For their exit ticket, they have a flashcard. The teacher will show them a flashcard with the word that has one of the sounds in it, and the students will have to use what they learned to read the word on the flashcard. Then we have the review, and the final lesson plan is what are idioms? So students will use context to find the meaning of different idioms, and they will also be able to create scenarios in which idioms can be used. Okay, so for their anticipatory set, students act out different idioms. They are then introduced to idioms, and they find out the meanings of these idioms through different contexts that the teacher will share with them. You can see that here. And then the next is idioms in music, which works on their musical intelligence, in which the teacher will play a song. After that, they will listen to the lyric, or they will look at the lyrics of it, and they will try to find the idioms in the lyrics, and they'll try to figure out the meaning using the context. For their guided practice, they draw out different idioms. For this, they don't need to know what the idioms are, so they're able to draw out the literal definition, or the literal interpretation of the idioms, and then after that, they present it to the class. The class tries to figure out what the idiom means, and then they create their own context, they create their own context for the idioms. Okay, then we have idiom storytelling, where students create short, simple stories containing idioms in them. Again, the levels of understanding. The independent practice is a worksheet, and for independent practice, I usually have the class answer the first few problems together, and once that I see that students understand what to do, then they can go ahead and complete it individually. Advanced extension, they have something they can go online for. Formative assessment are idiom task cards. So this is sort of their exit ticket. I show them the idiom task card. They have to decide, or they have to figure out the meaning of the idiom on it. Okay, the closure is the review again, the I can statements, and that is the last of my lesson plans. So these were the 5 that I felt were the best that I had created, and I'm excited to use them in a classroom and hopefully in the near future. Okay, thank you very much for your time.